Hi, hello again, friends, and welcome into another edition of the Racing Angle. I'm Logan Kennedy Morris, whatever's left on this one, episode 19 of season one. This one titled, and my man Freddie got it, titled "Family Tradition," paying a little tribute to Coach Gibbs and the fam, but also paying tribute to old Hank. And we love any opportunity to do that, no question about it. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Tax Day to those that are celebrating. And if you haven't got your taxes in by now, I don't know if you're getting them in. To be quite frank with you, but happy Tax Day to those that are celebrating the thing. And we hope that you have paid your taxes because we'd like you to stay out of jail. But neither here nor there. I don't know if you can watch the show in jail. And so with that, what do you say we get to some racing thoughts, and let's get to our race week rewind. All right, time for the race week rewind here in the Racing Angle, and we were at Bristol, baby. And Ty Gibbs, as I mentioned, got it done, gets his first career win. And look, anytime you get a new winner, I think it's cool. I think it's really, really cool that when new winners happen, because it's just something you haven't seen before, and that's no disrespect to the legends like Denny Hamlin or Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott that continue to win and be very impressive as their careers go on. But there's something special about that first time, that first win, that individual like Ty Gibbs comes on the scene and really stakes his claim to maybe a changing of the guard. I've said for weeks on this show he was going to win this year, and so I love seeing a Logan prediction come true selfishly. And I got to tell you, now that he's got the proverbial monkey off the back, this is the first of a few this year. I think he at least wins one more time. I'm thinking twice, because again, when you get that confidence back, when you get that confidence about you, it's a whole different ball game. And so now that he knows he can do it, I think he's a threat when we go back to Bristol for the night race. I mean, why wouldn't he be? I think he's a threat at Martinsville in November. Why wouldn't he be? He was. I think he might be a threat this weekend at Kansas. Kansas has been a good Toyota track. Uh, Freddie's right. Richmond might be something to take a peek about. Uh, I think that, look, I know that everyone's got their opinion on Ty Gibbs. Obviously, you know, with when nepotism kind of stares you in the face, we all get a little up in arms. There's no doubt about that. And obviously, there's been some moments where Ty Gibbs has been less than stellar personality-wise, been less than stellar, and been a little regrettable on how he's handled some things and said some things, either on the mic or what have you, or on the radio. And so I get that Ty Gibbs is not everyone's cup of tea. I respect that. I do. I respect that he's not everyone's cup of tea. But this kid has proved all throughout 2026. And keep in mind, we're really just getting started. He belongs. He belongs. And that's what this moment was. It was him. It was him blowing. It was him. It was him confirming what a lot of us knew, and that's he's a good talent. Now, I don't know if he's an all-timer. I don't know any of that. I don't know how far this goes, but I really truly believe that he is worthy of that ride despite his last name. And I get that it's easy because we all look at Austin Dillon and we all go, well, he's Austin Dillon tends to win a race or two a year. Say what you want about him, but he does. And so I think sometimes we're a little bit too, like, there's a fine line. Yes, we should be holding people's feet to the fire in this sport, especially if they have a famous last name or a famous relative that helped them get there. We should absolutely be holding their feet to the fire. But does that also make us a little unfair from time to time? I think it does. It takes people a while to develop. Ty Gibbs is, it took Chase Elliott a long time to win. Not as long as it took Ty Gibbs, but it took Chase Elliott a long time in probably better equipment and certainly more funded equipment to get a win. And we weren't as I'm sure some were, but the collective was not as hard on Chase Elliott as it was Ty Gibbs. And again, I get everybody goes, well, Austin Dillon, that's not the real three. I get that, fine, whatever. But also, Austin Dillon wins a race or two every year. Austin Dillon looks more capable of winning a race right now than Kyle Busch, and we're going to talk about Kyle Busch. And I mean, isn't that an interesting state of affairs? When you look at the RCR stable, just for the record, I don't want to get on a big tangent here. We're going to talk more about it. But when you look at the RCR stable, if you believe that Kyle Busch is more capable of winning a race right now than Austin Dillon, other than resume, I don't know why you think that, because there's been nothing to bear that out. So why do we give Austin Dillon so much crap? Like so these guys that are famous, that are connected to their grandfathers in Ty Gibbs, Austin Dillon, and a few others, they also are under bigger microscope. The pressure might, because frankly, their grandfathers might be tougher on them. They might be hard asses on them. We have no idea. We're not at the shop. They might expect more because they can't. Lee Petty was notoriously harder on Richard. He was notoriously tough on Kyle. He was not easy on his family. That's how he built the dynasty that was Petty Enterprises. That's how he built the foundation of what is now Legacy Motor Club. Nobody ever said nepotism. No, Lee Petty busted their asses, quite literally and figuratively. And he was tougher on them probably because they are family. They were his sons and grandsons. And so I think we get a little unfair every now and again. Now, what's this mean in the grand scheme? Is this a changing of the guard, I wonder? I think it could be. Time will tell. You don't want to make too much of one win. But maybe this is where we're entering a different era in Joe Gibbs racing, in the 35th year in existence. Maybe this is where we're looking less at a Denny Hamlin, who is still great and can win and compete for a championship. Maybe we're looking more at Ty Gibbs. Maybe we're looking at more at Chase Briscoe or Christopher Bell. I think it could end up being the unofficial passing of the torch from Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. I really think that's possible, that we look at this moment and go, this is where we knew that we were entering into a new place for JGR. Because, again, when we think JGR in recent memory, we think Denny Hamlin, we think Martin Truex Jr. That's no disrespect to the other slew of drivers that have been there, but those two have set the pace and defined JGR over the better part of the last 2 decades. And so I wonder, is this the moment where we go, man, this is where the torch was kind of passed? And it's not that Denny is washed or any of that thing. It's that we know he's got more miles behind him than he does in front of him. Obviously, Martin Truex is fishing, and he is stuck to his fishing, by the way. We have not heard a peep from him since last year's Daytona 500. And so I wonder, is this the beginning of a brand new era for JGR? I think it could be. It could be. But let's talk more as we go through here. Kyle Busch's radio at RCR became pretty public because of the frustration that took place at Bristol, and the frustration that took place 2 weeks ago at Martinsville before the off week for Easter. I don't want to jump to a conclusion here, but it's time for Kyle Busch and RCR to probably part ways. I think Kyle Busch could still win some races. Do I think he could win at the prolific rate he once did? No, I don't. But I think the last 2 weeks, if you've heard the radio on Kyle Busch at RCR, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. It has ran its course. It had a good beginning. It was a cool story, from hold my watch to hold my steering wheel. Like, yeah, that's great, but it just doesn't work. And quite frankly, let's be honest. In the RCR pipeline, he might be holding up people. You can make a great argument that Austin Hill is ready. You can make an argument that Jesse Love is ready. Jesse Love is rumored for some cup rides next year, namely Legacy Motor Club. Uh, Look, I just think it is clear that this relationship has ran its course. He is clearly frustrated on the air, on the radio. They are clearly frustrated on the radio, meaning the crew chief and the spotter. A lot of tension. Lot of tension. A lot of tension to the point they might need some milk and cookies to fix it. And I'm not, again, I don't, I think Kyle Busch's resume is worth this statement. Don't bet against him long term. It's possible that by late summer we're saying, wow, these growing pains were worth it. These growing pains were absolutely worth it. But there's just nothing. There's nothing. This was Bristol. Brothers Busch have defined Bristol. I mean, Kurt Busch just went into the Hall of Fame. His Bristol number certainly helped that. We know Kyle is so proficient and prolific at Bristol. And I'm not saying I expected them to compete to win, but the fact that they couldn't even sniff the top 10, the fact that they couldn't really sniff the top 15 and 20, this stretch just screams something has got to change at RCR. And I agree with Freddie. I think this was the writing's on the wall here. This has got to be it. I think Kyle Busch has got to go somewhere else. And I don't think it's anybody's fault. I just don't think RCR is up to snuff right now. We've seen them go through ebbs and flows post-Dale for years. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're not. And right now they're not. And Kyle Busch is wasting what is the tail end, however long that tail is, I don't know. Could be a huge tail, could be a long one. Whatever is the tail end of his Hall of Fame storybook, arguably GOAT career at RCR. And there is no reason to believe he should continue to do that. To the point that if he signs another contract with RCR right now without improved results as the year goes on, we'd look at him and we'd go, you fool. You're wasting your last however many, they could be several. But again, getting to the point now where more miles are behind him than in front of him. Like it's been a fascinating quick decline. It has been Jimmy Johnson's decline on steroids. Jimmy Johnson, we all know, stopped winning suddenly, but he was still pretty competitive his last few years at HMS. It is what exactly is going on with Kyle Busch and RCR. I don't know, but it is 5-alarm fire time in my estimation. We talked about it. We've talked about it on this show more than anybody else, and so I hate that we've been right about that. Denny Hamlin sounded the alarm on Actions Detrimental this week. But, man, it just feels like it's time. It's time to, and I'm not saying time for Kyle to retire, but I am saying time to get out of the 8 car and the RCR stable and go to Spire or see if you can work a deal back at Toyota. Legacy's looking for a third. And so if this is his final chapter, if this is the start of his final chapter, if he chooses to remain at RCR for the foreseeable future, I think that is malpractice against your own career. I really do. I really do. Again, I know that RCR has gone through ebbs and flows since Dale's untimely passing. They've been up, they've been down 15 times in between. And they could surprise people and win races this year. Again, Austin Dillon usually sneaks up and gets one or two. But right now on the Cup level, they are down bad. They are down bad, and there's nobody can convince me otherwise. And it's sad, right? Like RCR is one of the pillar teams in NASCAR. They're one of those teams that when they do better, the sport does better. because of that association with Dale, because Richard Childress has given his life to the sport. And I want to see them turned around. I want to see Kyle Busch turned around because it's a good story. And I never thought I'd say that in my life, because if you watched me on previous podcasts, wasn't a fan. Wasn't a fan of that behavior that he was so known for a long time. But at this point, it's hard not to feel for the guy, because he is a workaholic. Nobody has more drive to be great in that race car than Kyle Busch. And for whatever reason, he is nowhere near right now. And I don't think age is the whole story. I don't think it's half of the story. I think RCR is a lot of the story, but that's just my take, just my opinion. Let's move it along. Connor Zilisch got it done in the NASCAR O'Reilly Series. I think this was big for Connor Zilisch, because there's a guy that, let's be real, is another one that has lost luster. It was not long ago, not long ago at all. Like when I started this podcast about 20 weeks ago, Connor Zilisch was the can't-miss blue chip prospect of NASCAR. Right now, that feels like Corey Heim. And so I know that winning in the O'Reilly Series, the place he's dominated, is not winning in the Cup Series. I get that. But maybe it gets some of that mojo back working, because it has been a slog in Trackhouse in the Cup level. But again, and I don't want to sound like I'm just coming at the teams all night long, I don't blame Connor Zilisch. Some reason Trackhouse feels like they've taken a step back. Suddenly on the ovals, SVG feels like he's taking a step back. I know that he sits, ever so ensconced in P16 right now. So I guess he'd make the chase. I think he's 1 point above Chase Briscoe, but I just don't personally. I don't have a ton of faith in Trackhouse right now, and I think that is why you're seeing Connor Zilisch not look good at all. Now, I'm not saying some of those aren't rookie struggles, some of those aren't growing pains. I'm saying you combine the two. I think it makes Connor look worse than he actually is. And so hopefully this win here gets him a little mojo working, a little confidence, and maybe he can start stacking together some decent finishes in the Cup level. Because let's be honest, folks, confidence is the key to everything in life. And it certainly is for a young guy like him, right? And so it absolutely is pivotal that he finds a way to win races at any level so he can feel like he can still do the job. In the truck race, Christopher Bell got it done. You had Corey Heim in the entry list, and so that was who I was sure he was winning. And then Kyle Busch was on the entry list. Again, those are rhinos locking horns. Those two in truck equipment, you talk about King Kong versus Godzilla. But instead, it's Christopher Bell getting it done, reminding us that, hey, there's three heads to this monster. And good for Christopher Bell. Again, it's one of those things you might say, well, what's the point? A young guy like that, confidence is key. Confidence is key. Freddie says if Connor does win a race this year, it'll be on a road course or a plate track. I think he can certainly could win at a road course if he can find a way to handle his teammate SVG. Because obviously SVG has figured out something about road courses. He is painting the Mona Lisa while we're finger painting the rest of them on. So if he can figure that out, yeah, absolutely he could. And I still believe in Connor Zilich's future. Still do. But it's incredible how he's not the flavor of the month right now and how quickly that kind of happened. And so I do. I just hope that Connor Zilich is able to find that mojo, and we'll see if he can. But don't give up on the young kid. Don't give up on the young kid at all. He's got a bright future. All right, elsewhere in motorsports, the NHRA had the Winter Nationals at Pomona, and it was a weekend dominated by Tony Stewart Racing. Tony Stewart won Top Fuel for Elite Motorsports. Remember, he came over to that dragster after Josh Hart went over to John Force, and so getting his third career Top Fuel win, Tony Stewart, but his first for Elite Motorsports, a huge accomplishment. And look, anything you stick Tony Stewart in, he'll win. He'll find a way. I know it took him some time in NHRA because the drivers have less power there to help than they do elsewhere. But absolutely, he is. When it comes to an all-around motorsports guy, he's one of the true goats. He's right up there with Foyt and Andretti, and just he can. You put him in anything, he'll figure it out. The closest thing I think NASCAR has to that right now is Kyle Larson, who, by the way, is found a way to kind of choke one at Bristol. But great for Tony Stewart, and TSR had a dominating day. Leah Pruitt was the number one qualifier, and that was big for her. Right, that's her first number one qualifier since coming back. That was her first number one qualifier since 2024, and so that was big. That was huge for her. Keeps her in the top 5 in the point standings in Top Fuel. Matt Hagan won the 1,000th funny car race, and in a great drag racing duel with 3-time funny car world champion Ron Capps. And you could not have asked for a better funny car race for the 1,000th race than Matt Hagan versus Ron Capps. It's a bit of a rivalry, and then it wasn't a pedal fest. Cylinders didn't go out. It was two behemoth teams giving all they had, and one narrowly getting the other, and Matt Hagan narrowly beating Ron Capps in the 1,000th funny car race. And, it's incredible when you think about 1,000 funny car races, and I can't help but think about John Force, right? He is without question the funny car goat. There's been 1,000 of those bad boys. He's got 158 wins, so he's won over 10% of the funny car races. He's won over 10% of the funny car events. I mean, you think about that. That is incredible. Next year, the NHRA, they're celebrating 75 years this year as a sport. But next year, they're celebrating 50 years of John Force. And if that stat is not thrown out there more often next year, that is an absolute travesty. Because John Force, when you really look at his numbers in totality of just how great he was for so long, he's a 16-time funny car world champion on his own. They're up to 24 titles as a team, and it is incredible. And I'm not putting down other people's career. Ron Capps has been great. Matt Hagan has been great. So many others have absolutely, put the pedal to the metal and been absolutely huge reasons that NHRA has made 1,000 funny car races. But when you look in totality at John Force's numbers, which is, like I said, I was struck by as we geared in on 1,000 this past weekend at the Winter Nationals, the fact that he has won over 10% of those races. There will never be another John Force. There will never be anything like him, both personality-wise and and in the car. A lot of people, and I'm not putting anybody down here, but a lot of people are kind of comparing Matty Gordon to John Force because Matty Gordon has got that same kind of that same kind of natural personality of unfiltered and bringing it, and it's awesome to watch. Matty Gordon is a breath of fresh air in a much needed one at that in a corporate world. However, and I say this with nothing but love, there is only one John Force. There is only one. He is his personality is otherworldly, and then you combine that with his racing prowess and how great his team is, and just how great he's been for so many decades. My hat's off to him, and my hat's off to the NHRA for 75 great years. And speaking of a guy that the only person that could maybe give John a run for the money in the Wallies, Greg Anderson got it done in Pro Stock. And what more can you say about Greg Anderson that hadn't already been said? I've talked to him several times, big league guy, and that HendrickCars.com Chevrolet at KB Titan. KB Titan's got it cooking right now because you got Dallas Glenn and you got Greg Anderson, and so either way, they're going home with the money. The question is who. But Greg Anderson got it done again in Pro Stock, and just a great weekend for the NHRA as they continue to celebrate 75 years. And just, how cool is it? 1,000 funny car races. It was a great weekend in Top Fuel for especially Tony Stewart Racing. The TSR, again, was so strong. Justin Ashley was great. He's so fantastic off the tree as Ashley. His reaction, and so that's why anytime Justin Ashley's on the starting line, you almost got to give him the edge because his reaction time is legendary. Freddie says John Force is the man. Yes, John Force is in fact the man. There is no, we're all playing catch up ball to John Force. He's a cool dude, and he's a great human being, and he's a damn good race car driver, and obviously an exceptional owner. And it's going to be so cool next year to see him get a lot of celebrations and tributes, and hopefully he'll muster up some of that well-known John Force showmanship for us as they celebrate 50 years of Force next year. Austin Prock had a better weekend, but had a parts failure in the first round on race day, and was upset in the first round. And so again, they keep showing strides, that Proc Rocket and Tasca Racing coming together. They keep showing a lot of strides, but they just can't put a full weekend together yet. Now, again, I think they will. I think it's coming quickly. They're going to win some races this year. But, there's a lot. It always will. It's natural to wonder. Now, it shouldn't be unexpected. You go to a new team, there's going to take some adjustments. But especially a team as great as JFR and the success they had being back-to-back world champions in the funny car. But you can't help but compare, right? And that's not fair to Proc and Tasca. It's not fair at all. It's too early. But you can't help but go, boy, you guys are really kind of struggling a little bit, at least. But Proc is also a victim of the standard he set, right? Proc winning everything under the sun. He looked like he was going to give his boss a run for the money as far as championships go, and he still might. But the standard he set made it to where seeing them kind of struggle out of the gate, it raises a lot of eyebrows, and probably very unfairly. But that's the price of doing business. You make a big move like that, the pressure is on you. And for the record, I think Tasca Racing and the Ford Racing Group, and of course Austin Prock and his family, will get it figured out, and they'll get it figured out in a big way, and they'll be back to being in the winner's circle in not too distant future. But until then, everybody's going to raise a little eyebrows. They're going to look at and go, "You had to get working over there with the Cornwall Quality Tools. What's going on?" But I think in time we'll see Austin Prock do Austin Prock-like things in that Tasca Racing Ford with those iconic Motorcraft, what I call Wood Brothers colors. We shall see. With that, I want to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk some Hot Lap headlines. There's some checkered thoughts. There's some news to get to. And when we come back, we'll get to all of it and a little bit more. And, of course, we'll make our predictions for the weekend. But we're still a little ways away from that as the cross flags hit the air. With that, we're going to take a quick break. But don't you go too far. We'll see you real soon. Tired of missing that big play? Fed up with waiting hours for the wrap-up? The local scene deserves more. Heart-pounding. Game-changing. Homegrown. C-Bus Sports. C-Bus Sports brings you live updates, in-depth analysis, and local athlete spotlights all in one place. From high school to pro, they cover the games that matter to you. Get inside access from the locker room to the starting line. Meet the players that Columbus roots for. This is more than sport, it's our community. It's every kid in cleats, every team in the stands, and every fan who bleeds their colors. C-Bus Sports is here for the passion, the pride, and the hometown story. Go to cbussports.com today and be the first in the know. CBus Sports. The game doesn't wait, and neither should you. Alrighty, welcome back to the Racing Angle. And again, I want to thank all our listeners, watchers, and subscribers so far. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do me a great favor and subscribe to it and follow us on our socials. We're trying to grow that Facebook page, especially because we grow that Facebook page. You like that Facebook page, we get to 100 followers on said Facebook page, and then we go live on Facebook as well. What I like to do on this show is not lie to you. That's what we like. Give us what we need. I think we're up to about 85 followers on the Racing Angle. And invite your friends to like the page. Why not? Again, we want to grow this thing as much as we can grow it. So if you can like the page and help us out, we greatly appreciate it. But we got so many socials. We got Facebook, we have X, we have the whole deal. We got TikTok. That's where all the young kids are these days. Everybody's on the TikTok. The TikTok, tic-tac, patty whack, give a dog a bone. Everybody loves TikTok. So give us a follow if you haven't already, and you, of course, can follow me at my personal account at Loganity. That's where I give thoughts about anything I want. It doesn't always pertain to racing. It can be wrestling. WrestleMania coming up this weekend. So if you want more Logan in your life, and why wouldn't you? Because I'm a hoot. Go ahead and give us a follow and like on all those socials. All right, with that, what do you say we get to our Hot Lap headlines? All righty. Wasn't a ton of news this week, but there is some. Parker Kligerman is going to join Colleague Racing next in a couple weeks, at Texas Motor Speedway. He's going to hop in that free agent truck. He's going to hop in that 25 truck, and he'll be at Texas Motor Speedway. And I think it's great. Look, Parker's so likable. I know he stepped away from the full-time racing deal, but he is so likable and so fun. He's fun on the CW broadcast, and he has been just fun his whole career. Wish him nothing but success. I'm still a little chapped that truck race with Anderson Motorsports, the win that wasn't right. He got DQ'd at Daytona, and that's what a pisser that was. But no, absolutely cool to see Parker Kligerman going to get back behind the wheel, and it's again Ram struggling a little bit out of the gate, not to be unexpected by any stretch. It takes time. It takes time to gel. And again, I give hats off to that free agent truck team because they have a different driver in it every couple of weeks. That is really hard. That is really hard to get people to gel and do all they need to do and do it in an effective manner for sure. And so that's just interesting. Daniel Dye is going to return to racing. He's if you looked at the ARCA entry list for this week at Kansas, he's going to drive the number 25, and so he'll return to racing at ARCA. And look, I'm all for it. He paid his price. He did whatever NASCAR asked him to do, and so I wish Daniel Dye well. Obviously he left Colleague Racing. We've talked at length about the circumstances. Is what it is at this point, and wish him well. I think he'll land on his feet. He's probably going to have to start from the bottom up, so to speak, but I still think there's hope and potential there. So we'll see what happens with Daniel Dye, but he'll be running the ARCA race this weekend at Kansas as well. Old Destiny Spurlock. Laney Bice and others. It's a nice entry list for the Kansas ARCA race. You're not going to want to miss it. Dial in for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Mike O'Gara joined IndyCar as the VP of Competition and Race Engineering. Pretty much he'll oversee everything and he'll report to the captain, right? The Roger Penske owns that racing series, and so he puts a new guy to report to him and see if they can make some changes there. IndyCar has been showing a lot of growth in recent years, so we'll see how all that shakes out. All right. Again, wasn't a ton of big news today. We're over the last week to cover, so let's get to our checkered thoughts. All righty, let's get to those Checkered Thoughts. NASCAR President Steve O'Donnell was a guest on Door Bumper Clear, and he said he wants to see NASCAR return to to Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway more than ever, and that the ZMAX Series was proof NASCAR belongs in Nashville. However, he said the effort to get NASCAR back in Nashville is an uphill battle. Here's the direct quote. Nashville is one of our most historic tracks. We'd love to be there, O'Donnell said. We'd love to be in both places in Nashville, including Nashville Superspeedway in Lebanon. It's a great market. Obviously, we got a lot of hardcore fans there. I was glad to see the Cars Tour go there. It was a great crowd, which was awesome. So hopefully that builds a little more momentum and gets Nashville stock car racing back in the limelight, especially from the media. All right, let's talk about it. I do think that they should go back to the fairgrounds. I do think they should go back to the fairgrounds. However, I do think NASCAR is also running into a few problems here. We only got 38 races. If you take one away, you got to give it somewhere. You got that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And so I wonder. I said last week that the Rockingham should have a cup date. Well, where do you give it? Where do you take it from? If Nashville, if the old fairgrounds gets a cup date again, where do you take it from? Now, when I look at the schedule, the first race I'm looking at the chopping block is Richmond. I think Richmond does not put on good racing these days. I think it's been questionable for quite some time. I just don't see the value in Richmond. I could even make an argument for no more Dover. It's not a very important market. Here's the argument for Dover, though. It is one of the older tracks on the circuit. There's a lot of history at Dover, and so I don't really want to part ways with it. But for Rockingham or Nashville Fairgrounds, I think I'd consider it. But here's the other thing that gets you a little weird. At what point is NASCAR moving away from being a kind of a national touring sport and being more southeastern? Because there's not much action here in the Midwest, where I'm located at, where the Logan Elite Lounge resides. There's not a ton there. We know about the struggles out in California. We know we got Sonoma, and then now we got this naval base race. It's going to be a lot of fun, but a lot of it is going back to the Carolinas, and now we're talking about maybe let's go back to Nashville, like Nashville. And so I wonder, are we getting to a point where are we not expanding the footprint enough? It's one of those things where is it too much of a good thing? Now, I'm all for more races in North Carolina and South Carolina. That is the bedrock of this sport. And let's be real. They need to rebuild that footprint probably before they head out to more places, to the Midwest, to more out west. Because let's look at the ratings from Bristol. They are not good. The ratings from Bristol are not good. They continue to decline. The decline over the last decade has been substantial. Now, let's be fair. I get it. Everyone's going to say, well, cable's dying and everybody's streaming and this and that and all. Yeah, yes. The way we watch television and consume media as a whole has changed drastically. That is true. That is undeniably true. However, the reason that argument doesn't work so well in NASCAR circles, in my estimation, and frankly, all the motorsport circles, is who watches motorsports mostly? Older people that still believe in cable, that still have some sort of package, that eschew the streaming era to such a degree that they'll get on Facebook or X or whatever social media platform of their choosing, and they will cry foul anytime a streaming deal is announced. So when people say, well, cable's dying, yes, that is true. That is true. There's no hate, no shade. You ain't wrong, player. But at the end of the day, it doesn't apply as seriously to NASCAR fans, to motorsports fans across the entire world, let alone this country, because a lot of them are fans that haven't gone to streaming in any sort of permanent way. Maybe they've moved up to Netflix and Peacock and the big ones that have been kind of tried and true and and a household name at this point. But Amazon Prime, we see the outcry that gets every year, and everybody thinks it's great. Well, it's not great. It's not great for the people that are the lifeblood of the sport. It's not. Frankly, it goes against what everybody says. We're going to get back to the roots of this thing. So you're going to get back to the roots of this thing, but you're also going to make it harder for those that really believe in the roots of this thing to watch. Doesn't add up. Doesn't add up. It doesn't. And so I just, again, I understand. I want to see Nashville Fairgrounds back on the schedule. I do. I want to see the Rockingham Cup race. But it is one of those things where you go, are we taking a step back here? Are we taking a step back to go forward? And how long is that step back? What is it going to take that next step forward? Because as much as I'm a traditionalist, and I am a traditionalist in the NASCAR form on most issues, I've given a lot of leeway on stage racing. I've come to kind of accept it. I don't want to miss green flag laps, and it does create a little bit of uncertainty during those what we like to call snoozers. But I do wonder, I am concerned as the more that we talk about, let's go down south, let's go here, let's go there. A lot of those are the Carolinas or the South or the Southeast. There's a lot of racing tracks all over this country that don't get a whole lot of love from NASCAR. I mean, I can speak, especially the Midwest. Kentucky is dying a miserable death. It sits there dormant right now. If we took a live shot at Kentucky Speedway, we'd say, well, guess what? There used to be racing here. Now there's nothing. Mid-Ohio, IndyCar still comes there. That's awesome. NASCAR's taking it off the truck and the O'Reilly Auto Parts schedule. Eldora, because of the tiff with Tony Stewart, doesn't host a truck race anymore. And again, I'm not saying that, because notice I'm talking about O'Reilly and truck dates. I'm talking about love from NASCAR as a whole. NASCAR official national touring series. They don't give a lot of love down here or up here in the Midwest. They don't. And so I see more of a migration back to the Southeast, let's be honest, back to the Petty and Pearson days of the sport. And I just wonder, are we taking a step back so hopefully in the future we can take a step forward? Or are the powers that be listening to perhaps out-of-touch voices? One has to wonder. I have great respect for Mark Martin. I have great respect for Dale Jr. But in the interest of NASCAR getting back to the roots, which is the theme ever since the NASCAR antitrust lawsuit hubbub, are we pushing it to a point of we are cutting our nose to spite our face? Yes, it's important to get back to the roots. Yes, it's important to pay tribute. We don't do enough of that. And they have gotten away from some things they should have never got away from. But I do wonder, or at what point do we go, hey, we're trying to go back out to California. Hey, we're trying to go back to Kentucky. Hey, we're trying to go here. Hey, we're trying to go there. Because the Tennessee area is pretty sad. We can't get enough people to show up to the Bristol Spring Race anyway. We do the Nashville Super Speedway, which is Lebanon. Now we're talking about the Fairgrounds, which would be cool. I'm not putting that down. And God knows we do it in the Carolinas. Just something to think about, people. Just something to think about. All right, let's keep moving it along. Another quote from O'Donnell. He goes, listen, it's been a weekly dialogue, right? He goes, I know Speedway Motorsports president Marcus Smith is trying to get there. It's been an uphill battle, which I don't understand. When you think about all the noise and everything, they've got concerts and all kinds of stuff. They got soccer, but it's tough right now. it can be a lot for communities to be like, yeah, we're going to tolerate NASCAR getting loud for 3 nights, and I mean extra loud. Like a concert is one night or whatever, and that's kind of that. Some venues spacing out pretty good. It's complicated red tape, isn't it always? Isn't it always? Hopefully it happens, but I do wonder about the footprint of the sport. All right, with that, let's keep moving along and let's look at our lap ahead. All right, we got to get set. We got to preview another great race weekend coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kansas is going to be hosting the Cup race and the O'Reilly Auto Parts race. IndyCar, Long Beach, IMSA as well. NHRA off for the weekend. They will do the 4 wides next week. With that, let's bring in producer Peyton for some predictions, and we'll break it down for you. Again, Kansas, I think it's going to be a great weekend. 1.5 miles, right? I think Kansas puts on great racing with this car. I think arguably Kansas is the best 1.5 miles we have on the schedule with this next-gen car. But again, we'll bring in producer Peyton Lohr, and let's make some predictions. And let's get it done. But Kansas coming up, I guess we'll all be dust in the wind, if you will. And so, there she is, the most beautiful member of this dais. Producer Peyton, how are you?
I am good.
Fantastic. How was your day?
It was okay. I'm very sore. I've been working out lately, which I don't usually do.
Been getting the pump in, huh?
Yeah.
Been getting a good sweat.
Big and strong.
Big and strong. You're the next immortal Hulk Hogan, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, can't wait. Can't wait. You'll be throwing me around the room. Look forward to that. It's gonna be fantastic. All right, let's make some Kansas predictions. Let's start with the Cup race. It's Kansas. Who you got?
Kansas.
Yep.
I'm going to say Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson makes a fair amount of sense. That makes a fair amount of sense. He is struggling though to find that win. He was great at Bristol, right? And then, but he came up. He had a great day. Many people would kill for his day. Don't get me wrong.
That means he's due for one.
He is due for one. I think Kyle Larson is a great pick. However, you know who's hot right now in NASCAR? Toyotas. You know was really hot to start the year and is still pretty hot? Tyler Reddick. Give me Tyler Reddick one more time in Kansas. All right. For the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, what do you got for me?
I'm gonna say give me Justin Allgaier.
Just a little gator, as they say. Yeah, so I think those are solid picks. I really do. But I'll take Carson Quaffle. To get it done in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. All right, I know that you and I are just now warming up to IndyCar, right? We're trying to get there. We're trying to get there, right? Can you give me an IndyCar prediction for Long Beach?
Kyle Kirkwood.
Nothing wrong with Andretti Global. I think that could work out. I'm going to go Scott Dixon. This is starting to line up to the portion of the schedule that works best for him, and I think Scott Dixon could get it done with that PNC library. We shall see. All right. Well, there's not much time to go left in the show, but I think I think we're gonna bring you a special Peyton and Lower edition of Red Flag Rants.
So,
You got to bring it. This is Red Flag Rants. Let's go.
I don't have a screen just for me, so
I'll just listen.
what is up with Ryan Blaney's pit crew? I know his pit crew is usually not that great. However, on the broadcast a couple weeks ago, they said that he was ranked 35th out of 36 pit crews. What? Like, what? We need to do something about that, Roger Penske. Like, I know that Joey Logano is like the end all be all of Penske right now because he's Mr. 3-time champion. But like, Austin Cindric hasn't done anything.
Did win the Daytona 500 though.
I don't care. Take his pit crew. Better yet, take Josh Berry's pit crew.
Being tough on the Wood Brothers now.
It's not just because I am a Blaney stan, but like, if Joey Logano's pit crew was in 35th, take Josh Berry's pit crew. I'm sorry, Josh Berry. I'm sorry, Wood Brothers, but like, that's what you get when you're a satellite team. Like, that's what happens. And unless Josh Berry is 36, which I don't believe is true, I believe that is Cody Ware. No hate, no shade, Cody Ware. Well, maybe.
We would love him on this podcast. No hate, no shade.
No hate, no shade, Cody Ware. What? Like, even if Josh Berry's pit crew was 34th, that is still better than 35th. So what are we doing? And may I mind you, Ryan Blaney still won a race this year and still almost won a race at Bristol with that poor ass performance on pit road.
True.
So I am frankly disgusted.
Can they redeem it for you?
If they learn how to do their jobs right.
Anything else?
I'm not saying I could change a tire or fuel. I can fuel a car. I can't fuel a NASCAR, a stock car. I probably couldn't even pick it up. I'm not saying it's easy. But I'm also not signing up to be a pit crew member. So, like, what are we doing? But you never know. I am working out now, so maybe you'll see me out there working on Ryan Blaney's car.
Boy, that'll be the day. That'll be the day. If that happens, that's going to be great GoPro content for the racing angle. I want to see it.
That's my goal, to work out and be strong enough to be lifting up the fuel.
All right. The Sunoco Fuller. I got you. The can. All right. Anything else before we get to our final lap?
Just let's aim for 34th at least.
Let's aim for 34th. Joe Madden, former Cubs manager, used to say, "Try not to suck."
That's all we can do.
All right, let's get to our final lap. All right, Bruce Payton, you seem very chatty this evening. You got any final words for the folks?
I don't know.
Okay.
I used all my words a minute ago.
Any thoughts on Kansas coming up this weekend, or Long Beach, or with IMSA and IndyCar? And
there's a casino in turn 2.
There is a casino in turn 2. All right. Well, with that, anything else before we part ways here?
That's all I know about Kansas.
Okay. Got it. There's a casino in turn 2. That's the quote of the night right there. There's a casino in turn 2. So, all right. With that, Freddie, we thank you for tuning in. Everybody else, thank you so much for dialing into the Racing Angle. Again, if you didn't love that red flag rant, and if you didn't love the tidbit about Kansas that producer Peyton just gave you, there's something wrong with you. And so you want to subscribe for more of those great, no other analyst in podcast land can do what producer Peyton does. So we look forward to having her back on the show next week. I don't think she'll do any more red flag rants for us for a while. It depends on Brian Blaney's pit crew, to be honest. But we'll see what happens. Until next week, I'm Logan. That's been producer Peyton. And Kansas is coming up. Enjoy it. Don't be dust in the wind. And hey, looking forward to talking about it. And until the next time, we'll see you next week. Same place, same channel, and at the next track.